Today is February 2nd, 2026. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life. This is Pro-Life Week. Wow, it's already February, so the year is clipping along, and a lot's got to happen this year with the midterm election and what have you. I really have one topic today. Disappointing news coming out of South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame. And I'll read this. I got this off Fox News over the weekend and lifenews.com. A lot of the same information. So I'll be reading. The University of Notre Dame, a leading Catholic institution, has appointed Susan Osterman, an outspoken advocate for abortion, who has described abortion bans protecting babies as violence against women and linked them to white supremacy. You know, the other side always seems to throw race into the mix. White supremacy is and she's the new director of the university's Lee Institute for Asia and Asian Studies. She has been a professor there since 2017. The appointment, effective July 1, comes despite Osterman's history of promoting abortion in national opinion pieces, including bogus claims that abortion saves women's lives. This lady has got some real problems with the truth. Critics argue the move contradicts Notre Dame's commitment to the sanctity of human life from conception to natural death. I don't want to go into a big, recitation about Notre Dame, but they are not the only Catholic university that has compromised on who they hire. Sometimes you look at some of the professors that teach at Georgetown in Washington, and they'll hire anybody, an atheist, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Protestant, a Catholic, pro-abortion, pro-life. No, it doesn't really matter, who they are. As long as you have a PhD next to your name, they'll bring you on. And Georgetown supposedly is a Catholic university like Notre Dame or Marquette. A lot of these schools, they have veered away from a lot of their strong Catholic teachings and principles, and they've embraced this idea that because we're a top tier university, we have to allow anybody in to teach our students, our children. Unfortunately, this Susan Osterman is just another example of a pro-abortion professor teaching at a pro-life Catholic university. Okay. In a 2022 Chicago Tribune article, she co-authored with former Notre Dame professor Tamara Kay, another pro-abortion professor, titled, this is the title of the article, "Lies About Abortion Have Dictated Our Health Policy." They wrote, almost 90% of abortions occurred during the first 10 weeks of pregnancy, where there are no babies or fetuses. Well, fetus is a technical term. Well, actually, it's a Latin term meaning a young child or offspring. But the fetus usually refers to a child maybe beyond the embryonic stage. But they're still human beings. They're still alive. They're still growing. Yeah, you could quibble maybe, are they persons in the person sense? But they are human, they are alive, and they are growing. There's at no point after conception are they anything but a human being. Okay. Osterman has called forced pregnancy, that's forced pregnancy, and childbirth instances of violence against women, sexual abuse, and trauma. She has linked bans on abortion to white supremacy, writing, quote, "Abortion criminalization and gun rights in the U.S. have their roots in white supremacy and racism." Oh, there's the other, it's It's either white supremacy, no misogyny, or it's all about race. And then the article I've printed out here said, never mind that Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger was the actual racist, which is true. Osterman has also condemned crisis pregnancy centers as, quote, anti-abortion rights propaganda sites to operate and provide false information to women who are lured to them, believing they will receive legitimate medical care, somehow believing that a CPC provides illegitimate medical care. Okay. In another Chicago Tribune article, she wrote, quote, the manner in which the information is delivered at crisis pregnancy centers is specifically designed to deceive pregnant people. Oh, there's another one. Pregnant people. As if somehow it's more than just women who can get pregnant. So that's the whole transgender issue. So I don't want to get into that, but you know where they're coming from when they refer to pregnant people as opposed to a pregnant woman. Okay. I'm still quoting here. Criminalizing abortion results in irreparable harm. In fact, it actually has the opposite policy effect that anti-abortion advocates say they want. It can increase abortion rates, unintended pregnancies, and infant mortality. Additionally, this Tamara Kay and Osterman wrote, quote, abortion access is freedom enhancing in the truest sense of the word. Oh, how wonderful. Consistent with integral human development that emphasizes social justice and human dignity, abortion access respects the inherent dignity of women, their freedom to make choices, and to evaluate medical and other risks associated with pregnancy and childbirth. And unquote. So she mentioned here that abortion access respects the inherent dignity of women. Well, so what about the inherent dignity of the unborn baby? The other side, ad nauseum, they have been saying for the last 50 years that it's all about the woman's rights, her choice, her rights, her autonomy, reproductive rights. So I'm gonna quote here from two different sources. One from a pro-abortion scholar back in 1979, and the other by a pro-life minister in 1992. Both address the same point. The pro-abortion movement, the mentality of its members, and the philosophy of its worldview is me-centered. It's a very, very self-centered. So the first one will be the pro-abortion scholar. So let's see what he has to say. Writing in Harper's Magazine in 1979, political science professor Andrew Hacker was the rare author honest enough to admit that he struggled to defend the pro-choice position. His concluding paragraph revealed the agonizing moral dilemma that many of his fellow pro-choice ideologues ignored. Now here's the quote. Abortion is a taking of human life. No legal or scientific theorizing can change that basic fact. Moreover, I find I have sympathy for those on the other side. Unquote. Hacker admitted that pro-lifers were not fanatics, but believed in a, quote, social and moral order where citizenship has its duties and passions are held in check, unquote. Pro-lifers pro-lifers have contributed to society unselfishly at no small cost to themselves. He faulted the other side, the pro-choice side. Quote, I am not convinced that those supporting abortion have a parallel vision. Theirs is a highly personal outlook stressing freedom and choice and pleasure. What is lacking is any sign of concern over the society we will have and the people we will be once their ends are attained. A fully active sexual life may be fine, but we should consider where it can take us. Opponents of abortion have done just that. Its supporters, the pro-choice side, prefer to avoid such questions. They don't want to talk about the ramifications of promiscuity and accidental pregnancies because people have been sleeping around. They don't want to talk about that. But he's admitting the fact that the pro-lifers have thought about the whole issue of premarital sex outside of marriage, and the consequences of that type of behavior. They thought about that. Okay, here's the quote by the pro-life minister. "We are two nations, one concerned on rights and laws, the other on rights and wrongs. One radically individualistic and dedicated to fulfillment of the self, the other communal and invoking the common good. One viewing law as the instrument of the will to power and license, the other affirming an objective moral order reflected in a constitution to which we are obligated, one typically secular, the other typically religious, one elitist, the other populist." And that is so true, that the other side is very individualistic. It's all, like I said, it's all about me. It's a very selfish, self-centered ideology, the pro-abortion mentality, and they refuse to admit it. And they refuse to look at science, at medicine, at the research, at DNA. They only want to look at what is beneficial to my sexual life, my reproductive rights. And if a baby gets in my way, or a boyfriend or a husband, if they get in my way, I should have my right to end this pregnancy. And that is such a it's not very holistic. It's very self-centered, very barbaric in its thinking, that a person, especially a mother who would be carrying a child in her womb, would have the, I would say, audacity and the barbarism to take that child's life for a selfish reason. So with that sober thought, I'll let you go. And I will see. Before I just want to close with one point before I close. What was Notre Dame thinking? True, her field might not be dealing with abortion, but the school needs to stand for something. And if they're going to put, it's one thing to hire a professor, it's another thing to put her in charge of a department. And they should be putting department heads and have them in line with Catholic teachings about the sanctity of human life. Bad decision by Notre Dame. With that, I will let you go, finally. And I'll see you next time.